أعوذ بالله الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Our lesson today will be a continuation of the lesson we covered yesterday. So this is part 2 of strategy implementation. So yesterday we were talking about strategy implementation. We defined what strategy implementation is. Then we also talked about the different approaches and the different ways of strategy implementation. So today we shall be finishing. With the other. Today we shall be finishing with the other part of strategy implementation. Then next week, so we only have one lesson remaining. Only one lesson is remaining. And that will be next week, not this week, the other week on Thursday. Then next week on Friday, you will be doing a quiz. Next week on Friday, you will be doing a quiz, and the quiz will be out of 20%. And the quiz will cover Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. That is your quiz. Then the final exam will cover Module 4, 5, 6, and maybe 6 or 7. I'm not sure about it. So prepare for your quiz next week, Module 1, 2, and 3. So it will be MCQ, multiple choice questions. And I will send the quiz to your group. Now, today our lesson is... Today, just a minute, let me answer this call. So sorry for that. I was talking to somebody in the mobile phone. So these are going to be our lesson objectives. By the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to, number one, explain the McKinsey 7S framework in strategy implementation. Then number two, discuss the challenges organizations face in strategy implementation. Then number three, highlight best practices for effective strategy implementation. So these are going to be our lesson objective for today. So let us start. Now, of course, remember this framework is very important. Every time we are explaining our lesson, we normally refer back to this framework. This framework is very, very important because this is what strategic management is all about. So we've already covered the mission objective, the external analysis, external environment analysis, and the internal environment analysis, and the strategic choice. So I told you yesterday, from the mission to the strategic choice, this is what is known as strategy formulation. Now, the second part is what we are covering, which is known as strategy implementation. Then next week we shall be finishing. Next week we shall talk about strategy evaluation and control. So that is what is remaining in our course. Now, today we shall be talking about this framework. It is the McKinsey 7S framework for strategy implementation. So according to him, he basically laid out a foundation. He laid out a framework that if we want to implement, if we want our strategy to be successfully implemented, then this 7 things are very important. So we shall be covering each and every one of these elements and to see how it is important in strategy implementation. So number one is strategy. So when you are implementing a strategy, so when you're talking about a strategy, remember we define a strategy like your plan, like your methodology. Okay. So what is the role of strategy in implementation? So strategy is the plan, al-khutta. It is the plan that defines how the organization will achieve its objective. So that is in brief the definition of a strategy. It is our roadmap. It is our guideline. It shows us how we can achieve our objectives. Now, so during implementation, what is the importance of this strategy during implementation? So it provides us with what? Directions and priorities. So the strategy helps us to know where we are heading to. Are we heading Sharkan, Gharban, Junuban, or Shimalan? Number two, it also guides decision making and resource allocation. Our strategy helps us when we are making decisions. And it also helps us to allocate our resources efficiently. Remember, we have different types of resources in our organization. We have the human resource, we have the financial resource, we have the physical resources, and we have the informational resource. So it helps us to allocate all these resources. Then lastly, it establishes performance targets. Like it establishes the performance targets which we will use to evaluate ourselves. So a clear strategy provides directions, aligns efforts, and drives successful implementation. Now look at this example. This is just an example. A school may adopt a strategy to become a leading digital learning institution. This strategy requires changes in technology, staff, capabilities, and organizational processes. So this is an example of a strategy. We have a school, and a school is choosing a strategy. It is moving from the traditional system and it is embracing the digital. So everything in the school will be digital. Students are going to be learning digitally. Their exams will be digital. So everything in the school has to be aligned to this strategy. So that is number one. Okay, number two is structure. Our strategy is very clear now. So what is the structure? And what is the role of what? Structure, not what? What is the role of structure, not strategy, in implementation? So the structure determines who is responsible for implementing the strategy. So remember when you were talking about the organizational hierarchy. So the structure is very important, and this is what is known as al-haikal. Al-haikal. So this cycle determines who is going to do what. So number one, it defines reporting relationship. Who is Muhammad going to report to? Who is Khadija going to report to? Mahi al-alaqat al-amal. Number two, assigns responsibility and accountability. Who is going to do this al-maham, al-mas'uliyah? Who is going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4? Okay. Then, okay, let me answer this call. Just 1 minute. Let me answer this call. So I was answering a call, sorry for that. So as I was saying, as in, it's very important to determine the structure, and the structure defines reporting relationships. And number two, assigns responsibility, who is going to do what, and also accountability, al-muhasaba. And these two things are very important in an organization or when you're doing a business. You need to identify who is going to do what, and then there is also muhasaba. So if you don't do it, you are going to be asked, لماذا لم تقم بهذه المسؤوليات أو المهام. Then lastly, facilitate coordination among departments. So this structure enables there to be a tansik. We have the Department A, Department B. Now look at the example. If you look at this example, this is now the example of our school. So if a school introduces the e-learning, it may establish an ICT department and appoint coordinators to oversee implementation. So you can see now here we have the coordinator, the e-learning coordinator. Okay, we have the ICT department, we have the technical support coordinator, and down here we have the academic department, teaching staff, students, and ICT. So this structure enables what? Enables the coordination, and even you can see from the image, the relationship is clearly determined. Now, number three is the what? Number three is the systems. So when you are implementing, also the systems needs to be very clear. Now, what are the systems? Systems are the procedures and processes used to execute the strategy. So systems are the procedures. What is the meaning of procedures? Procedures can mean al-ijra'at, all procedures, yes, al-ijra'at, and the processes, amaliyat, used to execute the strategy. So during implementation, the system, number one, translate plans into daily activities. Number two, monitor progress and performance. Then number three, ensure consistency and efficiency. So your strategy cannot be effectively executed and implemented if you have weak systems, if you have weak procedures, if you have weak processes. That is why as an organization or as a business, your processes should be clearly defined. And in some organization, of course, you normally have a chart. So the chart is going to explain to everybody in the organization, this is the procedure of doing our things. These are the process 1, 2, 3, and 4. For example, if you want to register in a university, you want to register for a course, what is the process? Number one, you submit your admission. Number two, you go to the finance, you pay. Once you pay, you go to this office. So that is an example. So in this case, you can see as if in our example, a school implementing digital learning may introduce learning management system, and every student is given an ID. Then you have digital attendance system. Like every lesson, if you attend a lesson, there is an attendance. They can easily monitor who is attending the classes and who is not attending. Then online examination system. So you can also have an online examination system where students are assessed and evaluated using an online platform. So systems operationalize strategy and ensure it becomes part of everyday work. Number four, which is also very important, shared values. What is the meaning of shared values? These shared values, these are al-qiyam wa al-mabadi. Every organization has values. These values are very important because it guides us. These values help us achieve or implement our strategies successfully. So shared values provide the cultural foundation. When you're talking about cultural foundation, we are talking about al-asas al-thaqafiyya. هناك الثقافة في كل المنظمة. Cultural foundation that supports the strategy. So every organization has a culture. And this culture, for example, time management is a culture. Attending the office, attending work on time. Al-itqan, excellence, can also be an example. So what is the importance of the shared values when it comes to strategy implementation? Number one, it influences employee attitude and behavior. By attitude, we mean al-ittijahat. Behavior means al-akhlaq or al-sulukiyat. So it is our values that determine. In some organization, you find some workers, they are very lazy. Why? Because of a negative attitude in the organization. People don't work hard. There is a negative work ethics. So this culture or these values, they are the ones that guides our attitudes and behaviors. Okay, number two, these values, they promote commitment to organizational goals. By commitment, we mean focus. Everybody is focused towards achieving the goals. Then lastly, it creates a common sense of purpose. Hunaka shay'un najtami'a fi. Everybody is focused towards achieving the goals. So in our example, maybe innovation is our value. If innovation is a core value, staff are more likely to embrace new teaching technologies, you know? So if innovation, al-ibda, is one of our values, all the workers in the school, they'll be expected to be creative and innovative. Now, without supportive values, employees may resist strategic changes. If the culture in the organization is not supportive, employees are going to resist, employees are not going to work towards the strategy. So shared values align people, strengthen commitment, and turn strategy into sustainable results. Okay. Number 5, when it comes to strategy implementation, we have what is known as skills. What is skills? Skills here ibara and anil maharat. You know, when you're talking about maharat, we're talking about competencies. So skills represent the competencies needed to execute the strategy successfully. Many strategies normally fail. Why? Because you don't have the right people to help you to implement the strategy. So if you want your strategy to be successfully implemented, you need to have people who are qualified. You need to have experts. You need to have people with the right qualifications. So during implementation, you need to identify capability gaps. I am the manager. I need to know what are the gaps, what are the kinds of skill set I need in my organization. Then number 2, determine training requirements. Sometimes you don't need to find new people. You don't need to advertise. You don't need to recruit. The same people in your team, you can train them. If they don't have some skills, then you can train them. You can have a workshop. Then these skills support innovation and problem solving. If your team is having enough skills, they are going to help you solve many problems. So for example, in our case of the school, we are still using the same example of the school. If you are introducing an e-learning system in the school, so teachers may need training in what? Digital teaching methods. Because it's a new method, it's a digital method. You need to train your teachers. Number 2, they also need training on online assessment tools. Number 3, they also need training in educational technology. But if you just introduce the e-learning without training the teachers, what is going to happen? It is going to fail even before you start. So, a strategy cannot be implemented effectively if employees lack the necessary skills. If the employees, they don't have the skills, then how are you going to implement? It is going to be impossible. So that is why it is important to always ensure that you have the right people and you always train them continuously. Now, number 6 is the style. This is very important. By style, what do we mean by style? Style refers to leadership behavior and management approach. If you want your strategy to be effectively implemented, you need to have good leaders. You need to have good leadership approaches. So what is the importance of this style or leadership or management approach? Number 1, it motivates employees because everything starts from the top. So as the leader, you need to do what? You need to motivate your employees so that they can implement the strategy. Then number 2, communicate strategic vision. The leaders are the ones who do what? The leaders are the ones who communicate the vision. So poor leadership, poor communication, poor implementation. Good leadership, good implementation, and so good leadership, good communication, then successful implementation, right? Then lastly, manages resistance to change. A good leader can manage conflict. A good leader can manage resistance. Sometimes some people are saying, no, we are not going to do it. But a good leader can encourage them, can give them a reason as to why they need to work together to implement the strategy. So in our example of the school has a principal. So a principal who actively promotes digital transformation and supports staff training is more likely to achieve successful implementation. So leadership style significantly influences employee commitment and acceptance of strategic initiatives. Now, staff. What is the role of staff? Staff are the people you are working with. So this staff is also related to the skill. They are related. So staff refers to the people responsible for carrying out the strategy. The people you are working with, who are they? Okay. So during implementation, the staff ensures the organization has the right people. Number 1, ensure you have the right people. An-nas, ashkhas munasibin. Number 2, support recruitment and talent development. So you always have to recruit, and you also have to have a plan for developing. This is where the training, you are talking about training. You need to have a program as an organization to develop the talents of your employees. Then lastly, encourages employee engagement. Now, a school implementing a digital strategy may recruit ICT specialists and train existing teachers. So in the case of our school, because we are embracing technology, we are embracing a digital online platform, the school can recruit ICT specialists and train the teachers. But the problem in many organizations, you find that sometimes strategies are not well executed because you are not having the right people. So this is a role that needs an ICT, but you go and bring somebody who is in business or somebody who is in law, or you are going to bring a sheikh because maybe he's related to your family. So you are bringing somebody who is not an expert. Why? because of tribalism, because of corruption. So that's why you find, especially in the government, you have projects and the projects are not being implemented. Why? You know, because you don't have the right skills. Those students who are doing project management, they understand this concept very, very well. Now, on to the other part of our lesson, challenges in strategy implementation. So sometimes we face challenges when we are implementing our strategy. There are four main challenges. Number one, organizational challenges. Number two, operational challenges. Three, cultural and behavioral challenges. Then lastly, external challenges. So why is it important to know these challenges? It is important to know these challenges so that if you are a manager, you can be able to find a better solution to these challenges and these barriers. Okay, number one, they are organizational challenges. Here we have three types of challenges. So number one is resistance to change. So employees and managers may resist new strategies due to fear, uncertainty, or comfort with the status quo. So sometimes people, they fear طبيعية هي شيء طبيعي. So people, they don't like change. نحن وجدنا آباءنا على ذلك وإن على آثارهم لمقتدون. Like, oh, we were doing this for 3-4 years, so we don't want this new thing. So some people, they are always in fear, uncertainty. They don't know what will happen in the future, or they're just comfort. They're just sitting in the comfort zone. They don't want to move out of the box, you know? So how can we solve this problem? We need a strong leader, strong leadership, communication, and change management. Then another problem, organizational challenge, is poor communication. So sometimes you have unclear strategy, messaging leads to misalignment. So any problem with communication can actually be detrimental to our strategy implementation. That is why it's very important. The solution, always be transparent, be open to your team, and consistently communicate at all levels. Communication should be regular, daiman. Always communicate with your team. Then number three, lack of leadership commitment. Another organizational challenges is that the leaders, if top management does not actively support the strategy, employees won't prioritize it. So it always starts with the leaders. If the top management supports the strategy, then even down there, the employees will be committed. But if the leader, the top management, is not supporting the implementation, then it will not be successful. So leaders must model commitment and hold teams accountable. So it always starts with the leaders. Al-Qudwa, they need to be Al-Qudwa Al-Hasana. If they are Qudwa Al-Hasana, then it will be translated down there. Number two, operational challenges. And here we also have three sub-challenges. So number one, inadequate resource allocation. We don't have enough resources. So insufficient budget, manpower, or technology hinders execution. So we need to properly plan and prioritize our resources. You cannot implement without resources. Number two, misaligned organizational structure. So we have a very rigid or outdated structure, which can slow down execution. So the solution is to redesign our structure, redesign our processes, redesign our systems. Then, number three, ineffective performance measurement. So without proper key performance indicators, this is the meaning of the KPA, key performance indicators. So in our organization, we need to have indicators of how are we going to measure performance? How are we going to know that we are achieving our objectives? We need to have al-ma'ayir, indicators that will help us. So we need to define clear metrics. Al-ma'ayir takun wadih. Okay? And review them. هذه المعايير نقوم بمراجعة هذه المعايير. بصفة مستمرة. Then cultural and behavioral change. So lack of employee engagement. Employees may not understand their role. لا يعرفون مهامهم. They are just there. They don't know what they are expected to do. So what should you do? You need to train them. Incentive, you need to motivate them, and you need to involve them in decision making. Then number two is what? Short-term focus. Pressure for quick results may derail long-term strategy. So sometimes we want to achieve things very quickly. They normally say al-istijal min ash-shaytan. Like we just want to do things quickly. So sometimes it's not good. It is going to compromise the quality. So balance short-term wins with long-term vision. So lazim yakun hunaka tawazun between what? The short-term, okay, vision, the short-term wins and the long-term wins. Now, so this, I think I forgot it. So there is this one. I forgot it. There is the external challenge. I think there was a mistake. I did not. So when you are talking about the external challenges, we are talking about the external environment. Remember when you were talking about the environmental scanning, we talk about the pestle analysis. So sometimes there are challenges related to politics. Maybe the country is not politically stable. It can affect our implementation. Maybe the economic condition of the country can affect the social condition, the demography of the country can also affect our implementation. Then the technology is also an external challenge. The legislation is also a challenge. Then the environment can also be a challenge. So that is the external challenge that is not here. Then lastly, is about what? Lastly, is about the best practices for effective strategy implementation. So if we want to effectively implement our strategy, there are 8 things that we need to do. Number 1, strong leadership and vision. As we have just said, leaders must champion the strategy and set clear goals. So that we need to have good leaders. We need to have competent leaders. These are the leaders who are going to market the strategy, who are going to set clear goals, who are going to encourage the team to do what? To achieve or to implement. Number 2, employee involvement and training. Let us involve musharakatu al-madha al-muwaddafin. Let us involve them. Let us always have meeting. Let us engage them and provide necessary skills. Number 3, continuous monitoring and feedback. So using key performance indicators and performance reviews to track progress. As we are implementing, we do what? We also review our performance and adjust. We implement, we also track and monitor and evaluate ourselves. Then we also have change management. So we need to address resistance through engagement and training. So we always need to, because as we have seen, one of the challenges is to do what? Some employees might resist. So we should always engage and train them. Then effective communication, which is also the key, So transparent, consistent messaging keeps employee engaged at tawasul al-mustamir. Then proper resource allocation, ensuring financial, technological, and human resources align with the strategy. Then flexibility and adaptability. Al-muruna wa at-takayyuf is also very important. So being open to adjusting the strategy as market condition changes. So remember, we are operating in a dynamic environment. Dynamic means البيئة تتغير كل يوم. So كلما يعني تتغير البيئة كذلك نتكيف we also change, we also adapt. Then lastly, we need to define roles and responsibilities. So we need to assign tasks with clear ownership to ensure accountability. So when we are giving responsibility, we have to ensure that everything is clear everybody knows what he or she is supposed to do. And this will help us when it comes to al-muhasaba, as we said earlier, accountability. So khulasatul qawl, effective strategy implementation turns plans into results and drives sustainable organizational success. So that is the end of our lesson today. So tomorrow and after tomorrow I shall not be around. So we'll meet next week. We will meet next week on Thursday. That will be our last lesson. Our last lesson will be next week on Thursday. Okay. And what? And your quiz will be on Friday. So prepare for your quiz on Friday. The quiz will cover chapter 1, module 1, module 2, and module 3. Those 3 chapters will be in your quiz, and it will be in form of multiple choice questions. Okay. Then your final exam will be the other modules, module 4, 5, 6, and I guess module 7 probably. So I will just see if module 7 will be in your final exam. I will just give you I'll give you the full information about the final exams next week. So I'm sending the attendance in your group. Please take the attendance. I'm sending the link. So just take the attendance. So is there any question? If there is no question, we still have one more lesson before we finish this course, inshallah. So, Masalam. All the lessons are in the YouTube channel. So all the lessons are recorded and you'll find the lessons in the YouTube channel. Okay. So, Masalam. Thank you.